welcome everyone to tonight's talk on dating data in the digital era. Before we get started, I thought that it would be nice to slightly set up what we're discussing tonight. And as Matteo already pointed out, the exhibition not only explores how we interact with machines, but how technology influences the way we interact with each other, so our interhuman relationships. And most of us here tonight, I assume, are using some sort of social platforms, social networks, social media in some capacity. May it be WhatsApp, Instagram, or dating apps. And there has been vast research done on the effects of social media on our relationships, our social behavior, and also our mental health. And in particular, since the launch of the first iPhone in 2017, this is something that has been studied extensively. While on the one hand, I would say that we all agree these technologies have a lot of advantages because they connect us. Just thinking about the pandemic, I think we're all very grateful to have these tools at hand to actually be able to communicate with our beloved ones. And on the other hand, this idea of constant connectivity also brings other disadvantages with it and effects on our well-being when it comes to increasing rates of depression, anxiety, lack of self-confidence or self-esteem, also in particular with regard to teenagers today. So I think this is something that is really interesting in how these tools are affecting us as humans. And the design features, from the like button to the swipe function with Tinder and the like, heavily influence the way we interact online, but also offline in settings like these. Technology thus influences our most personal, romantic, and sexual relationships. And in particular, online dating has completely revolutionized how we search for and consume love today, with an endless supply of potential partners at our fingertips. And I was researching a little bit, reading up on statistics for tonight's talk, and it's just so interesting to see, so what I read is that on average we use social media around 2 hours a day worldwide. I think if I look at my own usage, I don't know how it is for you, but sometimes it's even more. And around, several hundreds of million people are actually using dating apps, and I think that also saw an increase during the pandemic. And maybe, where it might have been more stigmatized before then, as, I don't know, maybe if you weren't as successful in real life, you would look online. I think nowadays it's just common practice. And now that I have you all here tonight, maybe it would be lovely to hear or to see some hands who's ever used a dating app before, or, used one for a friend, so it can also be secondhand experience. But just, to have a sense of, no, you don't have to be shy, it's okay. I'm right there with you. But, this is something we're discussing tonight. This is about intimacy, about all these awkward questions around what do these technologies do with, also our personal borders, our personal sense of comfort. But yeah, so we're warming up. And yeah, so as Matteo already mentioned, we're discussing really how technology is affecting and shaping our most intimate relationships. And this is something that you really explore in detail in your works. And I think I don't need to do much longer of an introduction. I think it would be just wonderful to hear from you what it is you actually do. So Éva, you're a visual artist. You've studied at the Sorbonne University in Paris. Your work has been shown extensively, also in our exhibition now, but also at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. It's part of their collection. I think we're going to address later on what the media that you're working in does in terms of how it increases the narrative. And then for Karen, as Matteo already also pointed out, you're part of one half of a duo. And your work is very versatile in the mediums that you explore. It's, on the one hand, really raising awareness, asking questions, but also posing alternative scenarios about the future and speculating about these dynamics and relationships that might, take shape in the future. And instead of me explaining what you do, I think it would be just wonderful to have an introduction of your work by yourselves. And maybe you could tell us a little bit more about what it is that brought you to the topic of technology and love or intimacy or personal relationships. And maybe also how your personal perception of technology has changed through your work. And I'd say the floor is all yours. Do you want to have a go?
Okay. Well, my work is about love. It's a satire of love, and especially in the digital era. And I just before introducing my work, I just would like to make a short parallel with the ancient Greek mythology of Ulysses and Penelope. I guess you all know that story that Ulysses went overseas for 20 years. Meanwhile, his poor and lovely wife stayed at home, did the waving and unwaved the tapestry, and she just stayed super faithful, and she waited for her husband for her entire life. But the story doesn't say if Ulysses had met some woman on his way, or had cheated, or, I don't know, had some hookups or anywhere else. So why I picked tapestry, it's because I wanted to pick, imagine a new Penelope, modern Penelope, who instead of waiting forever after her husband, she would just go on dating apps. She would just swipe left, swipe right, have hookups or one-night stand. And that's why I try to make a satire of love in my work, because I want to show that women too can have some fun. And there is a part of feminism in my work that you probably will see. Let's start. So yeah, this is all about this question: how do digital interfaces reshape our relationships? I'm very old-fashioned in my medium. Like, I use a loom, a waving loom. I dye my own wool. I use natural pigments, so it's all about the process. It takes days and hours. So as you can see, this is the wool being dyed, and it needs to dry. So what I want to express is that it's not only just the object, it's just the process behind, and that's why probably we will talk about this later. You can... It's difficult to be in the middle, but... So my work talks about all this new vocabulary that you can find that is in our new dating world. So I guess some of you knows some of this vocabulary. It talks about all the vulnerabilities and the humiliation and the paranoia that we can feel as this new dating world. So being blocked, like Tinder, hacking, like online stalking, what does it do? Breadcrumbing. So it's all the new vocabulary that I try to put into my work. And it's a bit difficult to talk about the tapestry because I think it talks for themselves. This is a few tapestries that you have here. You can go, we are going to check a few more. So this one, the title is I'm Not the Only One Wondering. So it's a research on Google, like how to find love again. And by doing this research, I found out that I was not the only one to be wondering. And today, I think we use Google or the internet more as an oracle, like or even as a therapist. Like we are alone in our room, we are wondering if he's coming back or if we would find love again. And I just wanted to stop those moments of anxiety and of stress through my work. So this is the first one you can go through, please, madam. This tapestry is in the exhibition. You can find it. So the title is, I've been sending him a picture of the loading sign instead, and he still hasn't realized. So it's a screenshot of course, the loading sign. And it plays with the passions that we are lacking today, I think, in our relationships, especially in the dating world. So, voilà. It's Who Said Romance Was Dead? 3 EM classics. That's the kind of thing you receive when you sleep at night and you receive a dick pic in your DM. So it's also highlighting what is about romance today, like is it still existing? This one is how many swipes for a blow of fate. So of course it's all the windows you do when you swipe on Tinder. It's despair, I think, so yeah. The title is Sorry, Not Sorry. It's the same, in the same mood as the one who is in the exhibition. It's all about playing games, mind games, and all about patience. And of course, I mean, it's difficult to talk about since you have all everything here. So. This one, this one is about a new behavior we have, I think, that when we are blocked, have you ever been blocked? I'm sure some of you, I hope not, by the way, but I'm sure some of you have. And it develops such an anxiety, such a moment of fear, or like you panic a bit. And that's also something I would like to talk about tonight, about the new vocabulary to being ghosted and what it makes, and it's maybe new. So this tapestry is about a long talk, monologue of someone who is panicking because, of course, she's been blocked on WhatsApp. So, voilà. It's forever ending. This one it talks also by itself because, of course, it's someone who sends help and everyone sees it, but this is seen by all. So it's about the ticks. It's also a new behavior we have, like we feel very lonely when we have this kind of experience. So, hello darkness, my old friend, yes. And this also is a part of, of my work. Actually, a few years ago, I called off my wedding after finding out that my former fiancé was cheating on me. And instead, I went marry myself because I received my wedding dress a few days later, and I put it on. I watched myself in the mirror, and I was, okay. I cried, but then I thought, okay, I'm going to do something. And that guy didn't want me, but I thought, okay, I'm going to do something beautiful with this, all this energy you put into a marriage and everything. So I went to Lourdes. It's the south of France. It's a very holistic place. I booked a single-room hotel. I did my bachelorette party all alone in my room. I put some Chip and Dale's video, and I drink a glass of wine, of course. And then the next day, I went to Lourdes, and I married myself among the prayers, the nuns, the priests, everywhere over there is praying. So I was there, and I pronounced my vows, and I married in the lovely place of Lourdes. And by then, what I want to express is by then the word sologamy didn't even exist, and now it's becoming a community. There are many people around the world who get married to themselves, and it's a position, it's a posture, so it's also my statement in my work. And 6 years later, this year, for Valentine's Day, I renew my vows in the metaverse. So I went into a metaverse who's called Decentraland. It's where Paris Hilton did the big festival. Super, it's not very clever, but anyway, I went there. I went into the main place, and I married myself as a character. At the same time, I had my virtual headset on, and I pronounced my vows, like Éva Ostrowska, will you marry me, blah, blah, blah. And I did exactly the same, but in the virtual world. And just after that, I did my wedding party at a kind of virtual club with, again, very much strangers. And I danced, of course, and I had fun, and I enjoyed my evening all alone, again. But yes, so well, that's also part of my work as a statement in this new, brave world of on-screen love.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Also
Sorry
a
for
very
my
personal story. Not at all. Karen, would you like to introduce you to us to what you do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you
and
for
then
your
afterwards,
invitation. Really nice.
we'll dive in.
Yeah. So hello. Thank you for tonight's event. Very nice to bring our works together, our partners. So, I'm Karin Lancel. I work together with Herman Maat, who is in the audience, and we work on the more hybridly on art, science, technology, and society, media art, performance, and publications. And we also do a PhD, a dissertation at the Technical University of Delft, in participatory systems on the question, can I touch you online? And it's about shared empathy and intimate experience of social touch in hybrid connections. It's all about, we share communication, we share online communication, and less we meet each other in physical environments. And it makes our experience of feeling our bodies change. And how do we change, and how does it reflect the way we feel about each other? So now a lot of slides will come up. Shall we just make it like, yes, and then yes, yeah, okay. So this is the first. So robots, so first up, small text and then a lot of pictures. Robots, neural networks and empathy agents shape our togetherness, intimacy and loneliness. We explore shared empathy and embodied intimacy in social affective touch interaction. So hybrid, artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence connections for future social technical complex systems that emerge from shared data interpretation, storytelling, memories and imagination. And now I will show you a few works how we do this. Yes. The first is saving face. Yes. Saving face is about the question, can I touch you online? It uses artificial identification for face recognition and merging technologies. And so you see the girl is caressing her face, and through caressing her face, her portrait emerges on the big screen. And when she saves it, it becomes part of a database where it then merges with all the previous participants who have self-caressing their own faces. Here you see an excerpt of all the artificial personas who are all merged in the database. So they're all merged personas and they can identify only partly with themselves, but they share new personas to meet. Here it's in the Rijksmuseum, Amsterdam. The work was invited to reshape, to reorchestrate, and people merge through self-caressing with the portraits of Rembrandt and Van Gogh, like the master painters. And our wish is really to make it possible for people to caress themselves and then merge with others over time into the history. For the museum it was important because there was a problem in the museum. Many visitors have seen the portraits online and come to the physical museum just to make a selfie, like I am here. And they wanted to make it a stronger event that people would actually feel their bodies in the same space as the painting through self-caressing. The work Teletrust. Here you see a participant in what we call a data veil. It is a body covering veil and with smart sensors on the belly, and through caressing the belly, the portrait of the person in the veil becomes visible on the screen. Yes. This is an outlay of how it works. So at the left side you have the data veil with the sensors, and through caressing the body, your portrait becomes visible on the screen, but also on the smartphones of all people around who, through caressing softly their smartphone screens, open your face. And then there is a question, can I trust you by seeing your eyes? Do I need to see your eyes? And all the statements then come back to the data field, and when people then caress their own belly, they hear those statements about trust in their headset. Important to the design is that it's inspired by Eastern and Western cultures. It's inspired by monk's habit, by burqa, yes, but also by Darth Vader and also by classic striped business suits. It's diverse, it's inclusive, multi-gender, and one size fits all because everyone can wear a data veil, and we do. Now, what we love in our work is that to bring these data fields to all different kinds of cultures, because the notion of touching, of intimacy, or public intimacy is very different in culture. So when we bring it to Istanbul, different than we in China, or Amsterdam, or America. The work EEG Kiss. Well, this is us kissing, I think 8 years ago, right? So we wear EEG headsets, and while kissing, our brain activity of kissing is visible behind us. This work is about brain-to-brain intimacy. It's about the questions, can I kiss you online? And can we measure intimacy and what kissers feel together? How does your kiss feel in EEG data? And do we want to save our private kisses in a transparent database to be used and to be kissed by others? This is digital synesthetic EEG Kiss. We invited participants, audience, to come in, kiss each other, give them an EEG headset, they kiss each other, and while they kiss, their brain activity is no longer visible on monitors, it's streaming all around them. And these data, these streaming data, are then used as a music score, translated to a soundscape, and shared by the audience around. So in these works, people come kissing all the time. In the beginning, we were afraid that nobody would come up kissing, but they were in line. And so we took this work worldwide and developed it further. Here we used in the Stedelijk Museum of Amsterdam it's a second measurement. We also measured the heartbeat in combination with the brain activity. And here you see an example of the portraits that we then print in gold and silver. We call them dancing data. This is, in fact, a brain still from kissing. And people say, this is us. And they find themselves back in the memory of the kiss through the traces, the EEG traces. And this was a funny thing that came out of this again. So we were asked to design a new wedding event. How can we make the kiss, in fact, make the signature of the event in the future? So through kissing, people signatured through EEG measurement of their brains. They signed this wedding contract, and through doing this, we could embed it in the blockchain wedding ring system for the future. Now, what do we measure? We measure motor activity and concentration, different. And then Philips, which is a technical industry in Holland, asked, can correlations and validations be found between meaningful kisses and data patterns? And then we invited people to come in and asked Philips, like, how can we validate in a scientific way these data patterns? And they said, well, we do this on the basis of repeating. So we asked them, people, like, okay, please kiss, and then remember your kiss, and watch with us the data patterns, and then try from memory and pattern to re-kiss. This was a really funny, happy day, but there was no validation. And for us, yes, it was very important to state, okay, so an intimate kiss needs autonomous, unpredictable, ambiguous, and shared creative reflection. In fact, that was a real important insight moment in our work. And we further developed it with kissing data. And in kissing data, we also invite the audience around the kiss to be part of the brain activity. So you see here people kissing in the middle with an EEG headset, and then the people around also wear EEG headset. And what they see, what they imagine and feel with the kissers, how this resonates in their brain, and it's all about empathy, feeling with the other, is then also part of the data visualization and the sound. So it's about co-creating a kiss. Here's an example, and you see here at the left people wearing headsets, in the middle people kissing, there's also, and then we talk with them all. We say, how does it feel?
Does a good kiss look different from a bad kiss?
These questions are asked all the time, but the data are there to share and have dialogue and remember. And what you make of it is very important. So share your privacy, data co-creation through kissing. We take this kiss in many places, and you know, in Korea, for example, people touch less in public. Kissing in public or caressing in public is then also very perceived differently.
Yeah.
I'll talk about. Yeah, thank you. So we ask people to share an intimacy data symphony for transcultural kissing and embracing. Here, just to show, it's important as artists and to work, if you work in the field of art and design, you work with residencies, sponsors, art labs, and universities, and it's important that we collaborate in this field to bring up artworks like this. So this we created, and this was presented 2 days before the first lockdown in the Netherlands. Empathy ecologies. The question is, can we create new connections between humans, data, and nature? It's a critical and hopeful narrative about our future biospheres. And so what you see is a baroque flowery mini forest of aerial root plants. And both the CO2 output and the brain data of kissing is put together into a real-time soundscape by a DJ who is part of the performance. Now, crucial to all these performances that we talk with people, how did your kiss feel? And it's a wonderful moment always to say, how did this kiss feel? How did you experience your kiss? And people really want to talk about this. This is important. Our bodies change, our kisses change. We're all aware of, in fact, the possibility of having people watching. We feel different in the intimate world. And intimacy, we often feel, is something that is private, that if we start kissing, it's our kiss. But no, it's everything we feel intimately is part of our culture. It's shaped by us all. So we feel, let's talk about it all the time, how we change. And does this dialogue, this talking together, does it need human hosting? Or does it need empathy agents? Can we automize this? This is a big question for the future. And we feel that shared intimate experience in artificial environments needs hosting of shared reflection and dialogue on the interpretation of shared embodied experience and its data. And therefore, this is the last slide, we created an interaction model. The interaction model, can I touch you online? And it's not the metaverse as we know it as a symbol. It's not only about sensory disruption. The shared reflection is a crucial element of what we share. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really wonderful to see both of your works next to each other.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of common themes,
Yeah.
but also very different approaches to how you address them. Just something that came up for me right now is this idea of understanding one's own desires and emotion through an externalization of them.
Nice.
Like
yes.
a kind of physical representation of what it means to feel.
Yeah.
To feel oneself with regard to others. So this idea of connection.
Yes.
And I think what you also addressed is the question of language and communication. And interestingly, in the past, I mean, textiles have been, compared to communication networks. The idea of knitting, tying ends together, telling stories, also hiding messages in the textiles. So maybe we can address this briefly. This complexity of the pros and cons of technology when it comes to how it affects our forms of communication nowadays. I think there's been so much discussion on, us feeling even more lonely, although we're more connected. How has our communication with each other, also in the physical world, changed through technology? What is something that, this is something you really clearly express in your work. Maybe, it would be lovely to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we become more and more lazier, lazy. And I mean, I think as an experience, like for example, the ghosting behavior is complete lack of communication. And I think it develops very new codes of interacting with each other. Like, for example, the psychology behind it, it makes us more alone together. Like we are connected, okay, but we are all endlessly scrolling on our phones. We are very alone, in fact. And I think the risks are that we become more and more individualist or close to each other. I mean, I think the risks are that for me, but the benefits could be different. The benefit could be, for example, that the seduction becomes more feminine than masculine. It empowers women, it empowers LGBTQ community, and it makes us more equal. That's the balance for me.
You mean by having more choices?
Having more choices. Yeah. It's a positive, and it's also a very negative thing, I think, to have an endless possibility of choice. Because it doesn't help us, it doesn't make us more happy, I think. So
makes relationships interchangeable in a way. So this idea
disposable.
Of disposable. The kind of capitalist logic of we're going on an online app and purchasing something that we're looking for in the very moment might be something different the next day.
Yeah, like it could become like a kind of a monogamy, or serial monogamy. Like you jump from a relationship to another relationship, and as soon as you see any difficulty, you just leave and you ghost or you disappear and you jump into another one. So I mean, to me, that's the risk we are going to. But I may be very pessimistic. You might have a better view on that, no? On the
more positive?
I think than me. Yeah, for sure.
No. We are talking about it all day. Like, is it positive or negative? and I think we're coming from the wrong question there. Thank you for the question, but I think it's the wrong question because we got stuck there. And so, personally, I feel more attracted to the question: how can we reclaim the future, and how can we shape intimate encounters to create together imagination of the future? Because I think. I start to have a French accent.
I know for all of you, because I know I'm very hard.
I think the technology is most often a result of science fiction. So it's designing science fiction. It's something we imagined before is then filled up by technology. We shape the science fiction is shaping the future. So I think we should shape the future now with coming to sharing our imagination now of the future. And if we feel that we need a sense of sharing or loneliness or not loneliness, or the kind of loneliness that we share, that we need, or the kind of love or intimacy that we need, let's think what we need and think it into the future together. And to think about whether technology is good or not good is a different question. And there are good and bad sides, yes. But there are absolutely now, we feel that there's a few things that's not okay, that's going not okay. It's too much of a business product. The love and the sex and the intimacy becoming too much of a product. It becomes a capitalistic product instead of what intimacy should be. Intimacy is a practice of effort, of desire and love and failure and being euphoric and then fail again and then forgive each other and yourself and then love. And this is all in love and intimacy, right? This is a practice and we rehearse forever. That's the good thing about it. So the continuous rehearsal of intimacy and love is at the core. That we should go for in the future. And I think I do believe in our power as humans to shape the future in now. Yeah.
So you see an opportunity in this shared discourse also about, I mean, a lot of your installations are a kind of communal act. So this is something that private, but it's also a public, discussion. So I think that discourse is really interesting.
The discourse and the disclosure. You're vulnerable in love and intimacy. And I think exactly the disclosure, this vulnerability to share and to know that others are responsible and want to be responsible, and that you share this support and vulnerability together. Yes, and let's share it and practice and rehearse. Yeah.
I think this also brings us back to the question of design. I mean, thinking about dating apps in particular. I mean, on the one hand, it's of course the phone, it's the computer that is designed, it's the app that is designed, it's the artificial intelligence behind the apps, the code that is written. And then the question, what is the intention of these technologies? Whose agenda are they putting forward? Again, what you mentioned, the kind of capitalist aspect of it.
Yes.
At the end of the day, they're designed to keep users engaging with them. So ironically, in a way, for romantic relationships, their success is contradictory to the goal of the tech companies, right? To keep people using these apps, because once you find someone, you of course don't engage anymore. So that paradox I find really interesting. So what do we do as users to interact also with these conflicts, or to navigate these technologies, I think?
Well, I want to bring in that the apps that we are talking about now is now but almost old-fashioned, right? So we are moving toward a much more complex system in which we will be directed by one app or something built in our bodies, or to move to one bar and meet someone we don't know yet, and it's then arranged by technology and an artificial intelligence. And then we have an empathy agent, and the empathy agent will tell us, this person you should ask this, or talk about that, and he would regulate our anxieties. So, and then we move home again, and it's all about very efficient. But it's not about love. And this embedded complex systems for intimacy, I think what we call now the app is part of that emerging systems, right? So if we keep on thinking, is it good or is it bad, and about the app, and I think the app is a real good icon. So not about that. Right? And it's really happening now. So, but if we think about future, you have to think about the complex systems that we will be part of, and we are all already part of, right?
Because the dating apps could also be like a kind of machine learning from us.
Exactly.
Like I'm sure they read our conversation. I'm sure they read what we exchange, what we like, the kind of profile we swipe on, and everything. And of course, they learn from us. So, as you said, it's kind of an emotional capitalism, something that we are the product, of course, and we don't become interesting as soon as we engage into commitment or serious relationship. So, I think that's a very interesting paradox to see. Do they want our real happiness, or just would they prefer that we are endlessly single and swiping? I don't know. I think...
And then, of course, our data being the currency that we're using to engage with these apps, or, these networks, let's say.
It's the kind of machine learning that is learning from us, and it's scary. I mean, that's why I was talking about more pessimistic perspective from my work, because I like the old ways. I'm lucky enough to have been born before. Sorry for my French. To be born before the internet time. So I remember when you were waiting for a phone call. I remember when you were sending love letters. I'm not that old, but still I could remember those kind of love letters. And that's also what I try to explain with my work, that the notion of time has really disappeared today. Like you just rush on a new relationship. You overcome all the steps, like there is no romance, there is no fantasizing, there is no notion of time, and it's super important to have time in seduction, I think. So,
I think this is interesting. Again, the medium that you've chosen, right? Textiles, that is something that is so also linked to a female craft, to something that requires craftsmanship, a lot of time and effort. It's a long process, and that contrasted with the medium of technology, text messages that are very short-lived. It takes you 2 seconds to text someone at 3 a.m. So how do you think that enhances the story that you're telling?
It's a kind of a message through my work, like slow down things, like don't rush, take time to put one thread after one thread. And as I was doing the parallel with Penelope earlier, I think it also empowers the woman talk behind this, like, okay, I'm knitting at home. I'm very, like, the perfect picture of the single woman with the cats, and knitting and doing the waving and doing the own wool and dyeing and everything. But this is very, very big critique on our lack of time, of our lack of engagement, of fear of commitment, of all those things that result from the new behaviors that we have, and like the process of making things more slowly is also the message I want to share through that waving part and process.
Can I ask a question back? What I feel is in our conversation is that, in fact, we complain about what we lose.
But we're gaining something.
It's not about. No, I don't want.
Okay.
Yeah, that was not what I. Maybe you want to say something about what we gain?
I heard, because I feel like that is really something that comes out in your work.
No, it's more that I just refuse to take the position of complaining. Right?
Yeah,
That's the whole thing. You too, because you make it beautiful work. So we're. But there's the tendency, right? And it's the easy. And I feel that's we can do something. Yes,
definitely, absolutely.
So I'm not sure when we will succeed, but I feel let's take that position. Yeah, and what would it take?
No, and I don't think that we, that either one of us is saying this is black or white. I think this is a complex question that we're facing right now. And exactly what is the potential for, especially designers, artists, to,
Yeah, but then again, the potential lies not in technology itself. Potential lies in what humans do with it, right?
Yeah.
And what we share, and where we can, and how technology evolves. But it's not. You had a real nice question today about why do we want to distinguish love from technology, and can we actually distinguish, and why do we keep on doing it, right?
Why
so this
do we
is
want
very
to keep
important.
Both of ourselves apart?
Yes, because if you feel like how will we benefit from technology in the future for our love, then in fact we're still distinguishing it, right? And we're already living with technology. It's in our bodies. It's on our bodies. We're sharing it now. So it's there. We have designed fire. We have designed wheels. We have designed artificial intelligence. So it's a human thing to make technology. There's a kind of drive to extend our bodies and find new extended ways to fill in our lives, to be part of our lives. Let's put it like that for a moment. Data is part of our lives, and we make a natural situation of having natural data in our natural lives. That's how we live it now. And I think we need to distinguish it to understand what you say, to remember what was a love letter, what was time. We need to distinguish it. And at the same time, we cannot, because it's already part of our bodies. And from there on, to know both positions, we can feel into the future, not because we want to live in the future, but to think what we need now and to share. And sharing needs time. Sharing needs self-disclosure, needs care for each other, and time and listening. That's what it needs. And that will go on now and in the future. And then new things will come out of that, I guess.
But also what we discussed earlier, to better understand these technologies, because I think that's where a lot of the anxiety comes from, is that it's unclear what is technology. Exactly, as you said, it's not a physical robot anymore, but it's part of us and in our daily social fabric in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an extension of our bodies. Like,
Yes.
how many of you have watched your iPhone during the talk? To see. This is the same. We have those habits already that are really a part of us. So
Yeah.
it's a commodity that we can't
Yeah.
escape, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah. You would like?
I would love. I dream of coming back to the old times, doing waving. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
course.
So, what would you? So let's say we can skip technology, let's say, just take a break for half a year.
Digital detox.
Yeah.
But first, you will be lost in the streets because you don't have Google Maps. So you just, you will
Very
need
true.
to go back to the old maps and the streets, and you will discover so many things, I think.
Yeah.
Again, time will be different because you will lose hours instead of.
But we would get used to that again, and we would practice it and feel in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say from that position we go back to technology, knowing that you can distinguish it, go back and forth. And then you think very different about distinguishing, I think, at all, about technology at all, right?
So to get some distance to it, to be able to...
Yeah, that you feel it's in your control to step in and out, makes it very different.
It's all about presence.
Yeah.
Presence.
But what about the addictive qualities of it, for instance?
Yes,
when we speak about control, sometimes, I wonder, of course we are. At the end of the day, we can decide, do we want to engage with these tools? They are neutral in a way that it depends on how we use them. But they're also created in a way that makes it really hard to step back. They're very seductive.
Yeah.
They're designed for that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess, again, this comes back to the question of how can we create technologies, or how can designers create technologies for the better, also for the future, to step into a scenario that is very beneficial to the individual and the community. I think, something that you address is that shared aspect, which I think is very interesting, because when we're consuming online, that is a very, as you said, individualized experience.
Yeah.
I think design should answer or should listen maybe more to the users of those dating apps or those dating digital relationships, because it maybe to answer to those frustration that we have. Because as I said earlier, like, we are all alone together, but we are still alone and together. So maybe there is a way to, I don't know, find the perfect balance between the old times and the new times, or.
Like a marriage of
past
and future.
Yeah.
I think we are discussing it in a way that that the anxiety for technology has to do with control. It's like take back control, like a kind of Brexit, but then for technology. and control from what exactly? From our relationship being a product owned by business models, for power systems. Taking back control, our love, to put it dramatically, from that kind of business models is the first, I think. That's really important to see. That's really something to, as an artist, to work for, to take it back from the hands of the business model. And then there's the other, taking back control from the intelligence that is developed in the technology, right? So this the intelligence is developed so far already that, for example, the intelligence behind Facebook is developed so far that the people who make Facebook do not know exactly anymore how the intelligence works and what comes out why. So that's something to think about taking back control.
Yeah.
And that's maybe as challenging as taking it back from the hands of the business models. And the first one, I would think, there I stand up and say, hey, I'm not complaining. As an artist, I stand up to make the voice to take back control on my love, back from the business model. I can do that. But taking it back from the intelligence that we develop with all our passion to make technology in our society, that's the real challenge.
and the speed in which
and the speed at
the
which it
change
develops.
happens.
Yes, yeah. The complexity of it. Yeah.
So what I hinted at earlier, I think the fact of gaining something new, a new language, a new, as we said, like a merging of online, offline presence.
Yes. Yeah.
Just in your performances, I'm curious to hear a little bit about, were there new findings, new experiences, new emotions?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That is really, I think, why we love to do it. So there are a few things I would love to describe shortly. So one of the things is, when we did it the first time, first we did it together, for example, kissing in front of an audience, and it felt like a kind of marriage moment, and it was to our surprise, like, ooh, because everyone was watching us, they were witnessing us doing it. And then in the next version, we invited audience to kiss each other, and we thought, oh, we hope someone will do it, just one. But they were in line, and they were coming up, and the beautiful thing is not only that they kiss, but then also the audience around need to support this. They need to have to create a sphere together to make it possible. And then what you see is that nobody ever disturbs it, because it has its kind of vulnerability, like vulnerability in the middle, and everyone goes like this and starts supporting it. So this is very beautiful to see. It's very, very vital. And so, for example, with the kissing, before people were kissing, and then when they kissed, we asked them, how does it feel? This is a beautiful moment, but we felt that they really need to keep their eyes closed to memorize how it feels, because everyone is watching them, And then when they stop kissing and they look around and they see these eyes, they completely forget about what they felt, because they don't feel safe. They need to feel safe. It's very important. So it needs to be hosted. They have to be able to close their eyes, and they feel safe in this vulnerable situation, because it also has a kind of danger. Everybody stands around. There's a lot of people who judge, maybe, or people who might attack. You need to host the safety bodily. And that's of course a performance thing. In art performance, there's a tradition of exhibiting the vulnerability and showing the danger and the support and what does it need, and have this responsibility in the audience. It's very important. And to evoke this, to dramatize this is what we do in the kissing moment. So when people open their eyes, we ask them, how does it feel? Then people start to think like, yeah, the people are watching, but then I hear the sound. And many people forget about everything around them once they start kissing. That's a beautiful thing of nature. They just forget about everything. But when then you see, and that's what they say, oh, I forgot about everything. And then you look at the videos later, and then you see that their hands start embracing and caressing each other's bodies, but they stop. They know exactly that's something you don't want to have in public. It's just on this kind of genital places, they stop. And what I find, this is what we write about in the PhD, it's a little scary that we found that people trust data more than other people, that's so. In those instances, which sometimes happens, that there's no audience around, that it's a quiet exhibition, people at that moment, and then people kiss, and there's no others around watching. People feel like, what is this data saying about our kiss? That's very important. But once people are around, they will say, the data are objective. What do the people think about my kiss? So once there are people, they start trusting data more. And this is, you'll hear this in many findings, scientifically too. Data are understood as objective, while people are not. And therefore data are trusted, and people are not in this seat. And that is, I think it's a scary development. That's really scary. We really need to address that. Really need to go there. And to dramatize this as artists, to to get awareness about this. Yeah.
It's interesting, this kind of the digital footprint almost as this kind of objectified or objective aspect of ourselves. It kind of, makes me think about this aspect of us curating ourselves on these social networks and platforms. So the kind of idealized, version of ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's also somehow a weird contrast there, right? That on the one hand, the digital is more trusted, at the same time, it's also more fake.
Completely.
Yeah, people will also ask us many times, can you see from our data whether our relationship is good?
Successful.
Successful. Yeah. And it cannot, because we right away say this from the beginning. We say it all the time during the performance. That's not possible. That's not what we're up to. We use the data as a shared data composition, as part of our KISS, to talk about how does it feel. That's what we do. And it's not, you can identify yourself with parts of it, like this line in the data is you, and that line is that. But the thing is that it comes together. It doesn't matter. People will always ask, what about my relationship? Can you see it? Can you predict it? And so there's a need. It is, there you come to this idea of efficiency and can you predict it? And the fear is behind it, that maybe it's not successful. It's always there. It's part of the intimacy. And really, we want to let go of that. Make the fear go away. Yeah, why not? But no, you really need it to have love. You need the fear
and risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's incredibly interesting. I think we could go on for quite a while. I'm just curious if we have any questions from the audience, or comments, or shared experiences. I think this is a very personal, subjective, strange topic to navigate. And it's interesting, as you said, that it's kind of manifested in these external elements of our daily lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I invite you all to participate in the conversation if there is. Okay.
Okay. Is this on? Yeah? Okay. It's just a comment, and something I've been thinking of while you were talking is how this sense of security and safety that you were talking about, that people really needed in that moment to like melt with each other and have this kiss and have a nice sensation, how that kind of is lost in the digital space, right? In dating apps and so this place where you are browsing Tinder or any other app, whatever, but there's no one saving you from other people harassing you or giving you bad feedback or sending you dick pics or whatever. So I think that is really something that is so lacking in this app scenarios, and that is why I think a lot of people get hurt and tend to need digital detoxes in a while, because there's no one keeping all these dangers from you.
Negotiating the boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I respond to that? Because it's really a good comment, thank you. Because when I said we really need the fear, it's like the fear is not there. Well, there is another fear now on. So I absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and maybe designers could think about a safer place or dating app police or something like that. Or
I mean, it's already interesting to see these different app formats,
yes,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
For Bumble, where the woman needs to initiate first, or I don't know, other formats where you actually have to invest more time to create your profile. You can't have unlimited swipes, so to negotiate these aspects.
And maybe that's going to happen, because Me Too has only 5 years. So who knows about the future? Maybe we are going to talk more about this kind of harassment online, or because it's, of course, not wanted to receive this kind of picture at 3 a.m. So yeah.
But, we could also think in this context about fear design, right? So if we think about fear design in love, then the first thing we start talking about, how can we design it out and make it in an efficient way? And as before I think you mentioned too, like exactly this, to have no time for fear, to design it out. I think that's maybe not really creative and sensitive way to go.
I mean that censorship isn't just the only answer, but all these aspects are part of the
It's a way
process.
of controlling in a way that you keep controlling, and in the end, love is controlled out also. It's where is then the border? Where do you stop? Where do you stop censoring out? So I'm not sure that's the way. I'm not sure whether dating apps are the way at all.
Also, what you were talking about is the safety online, but also with these dating apps, you show your localization. So, for example, I live in a tiny city. When I put myself on dating apps, all my neighbors know that I'm single. I don't really want them to know what I'm doing or what if I'm single or not. So, this kind of things could also become a great way to think for designers. I mean, that's I don't know.
So I think the sharing connections, hybrid connections is really important to not be on your own as an individual fearful for someone who's going to harass you, right? It's about this shared connection. But sharedness also has its dangers. I mean, it's always there,
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question. First of all, thank you. So first of all, thank you very much, Karen and Eva, for this wonderful talk, and you, Mia, for the conversation. One question that has started forming in my head, and perhaps that you can help me develop further, is the difference between intimacy and privacy. I feel like, to me, it feels like that's something where both your works go in, explore different directions, and also something where we sort of fall short in what we want from those apps and what we want from dating, I guess. So Karen, I feel like your work really focuses on intimacy and brings that into public spaces and making it public through the data it produces. And if I feel like your work is really, to me, it struck me as being very telling about how people mistake privacy in those private conversations for intimacy, which it isn't. And then by knitting it, you have a very intimate process that adds intimacy where it was lacking in those actual conversations that took place. So basically my question is just on your thoughts about the difference and problems between intimacy and privacy.
Okay, very good question.
Thank you for an interesting question. I would love to hear you more talking about what you think about it. The notion of privacy has been around for a long time, but is changing, and the culture of sharing intimate connections in private spaces is actually very young. It's not historically not very old, and so the idea to withdraw from public to experience intimacy in private is a practice that doesn't exist too long. I think so. Privacy and intimacy are like apples and pears. You cannot really put them. So there's difficulty in words, in language, like saying private and public, and could also say intimate and public. But you can't mix those pairs, word pairs. What we do in our work is bringing it back to the public sphere, and not only to say, well, let's discuss it in public, but also because we feel that intimacy has become public already, not only through how we share the culture of intimacy, but exactly through technology. So many philosophers talk about entanglement and technology, entanglement of it, sharing intimacy in public, and there's this lovely notion of extimacy. Extimacy is sharing intimacy, but also through phone and multimodal, and through computer and here, and in all those hybrid ways. And the extimacy of it is exactly that you think you're together, but in fact a lot of people are sharing it with you, consciously or not consciously, and you sharing the notion, you share the intimacy of others in talk shows and chats and Instagrams and everywhere. So the extimacy, the interwovenness of the intimate sphere in those multi-layered, multimodal, complex systems that our bodies are part of, is extimacy. I think that's where we work.
And thank you for your question. I think it's very complex. I mean, intimacy could be anything like a text, a voice audio, like a video, nudes you send to your lovers and everything. And to me, I have maybe a different opinion than you. I think today it's really impossible, quite difficult to keep privacy online. Or, who knows who reads what you send on the dating apps, for example? Who knows if someone will listen your Instagram voicemail? Or, I mean, I'm a bit paranoid, but you don't have control to that. So as soon as you go online, to me, of course, you just lose your privacy. And especially in our culture where we send selfies, where we send, again, nudes, and that's also what I talk in my tapestries. That's why I play with the loading screen and those kind of things that do not share. But I think it's really complex because there is no difference. I mean, to my opinion, in the digital world, it's already intertwined too much that it can't be. I mean, it's super hard to keep privacy. You put even when we put our phone on airplane mode, I read some articles that say that it still records. So even Alexa, Siri, they are always listening to us. So I don't know if I answer to your question right, but what's your opinion about that? Because I would be interested.
Yeah.
So,
I'm basically continuing to think about whether the word that I chose for what I'm trying to think, whether privacy is the right word, or whether I'm thinking more of something like a personal exchange. But I thought both of your ideas very helpful in thinking that further. So.
Yeah, but these are really good words because we think in it and we reclaim it. We need privacy, and then the question comes up: is there still privacy? Because privacy is coming from a time that we thought about spaces that are different spaces from each other, that are fragmented, right? So you could say, I'm in a private space, and you can still think you're in a private space, but you don't have privacy, as you say, because you take your mobile phone, right? So that's why I describe this notion of extimacy, where it's interwoven. There is no private, how would we call it then? There is a private space. I can make a wall around me. It looks like a private space, but I take my phone in. It's not private.
It's like a blurring of
absolutely
public
so it's
and
a blurring
private.
privacy.
And,
Perhaps it also performing it. I mean, perhaps in that space, because privacy, perhaps in that very interesting idea of yours of the space, depends on what you do in that space. So it becomes on what you perform in the space. So if you choose to have a space where you don't take your phone, or what used to be a private space, depended on then, I guess, what you do there. So you can, perhaps that's a way of performing privacy.
Performing privacy.
In a very active, chosen way of doing it without your phone, without external interaction.
Yeah. You think it's possible?
I think, I think it can be. I think we can, I mean, the same way that different technologies can be used to do different things, and the fact that we use these specific technologies and those internet-connected technologies today doesn't mean that the other technologies are not still available to us if we choose to use them. I mean, you can still write a letter. You can still use a typewriter if you choose to do it. It's just much less convenient. But it's still there, and therefore I think if you want to do something privately, you can still do it.
What do you think?
I think it's just about control. Who controls those things? Like who controls the dating apps? Who controls those online platforms? Like that's what you said earlier about the capitalism. It's super big ventures that control that. So the data are probably collected at some parts. I mean, I doubt you read all the policies, privacy policies. I mean, probably if you do, bravo, but I don't. So I'm the perfect pigeon, like the person who, okay. And yeah, so I share my data all the time. I don't know, for me, I think there is completely no privacy, except in real life. If you want to just stay at home and you do your things, but no. Our phone is the weak.
Yeah. But that question of intimacy, I think, is really interesting, because what does that mean nowadays? Do we kind of need to relearn intimacy in a way? You know, how you describe it as well in these scenarios? Is this something that we maybe unlearned online to actually engage with someone, to also, you know, work through difficulties and not just go to the next person? But also the aspect of just purely and simply fun. I mean, we've had a very serious conversation tonight.
Yeah,
but I mean, love and passion and, you know, playfulness, failure, these human qualities.
Yes.
They should all be part of these systems. And I think this is something that you addressed earlier, right? You can't design out anxiety or, again, failure. There is no guarantee for a perfect relationship. Not even your data can prove that to you. So I think these conversations are really fascinating, and there won't be a simple solution. I don't know if this is maybe a way to round up today's conversation. Thank you all so much for being here with us tonight. Thank you both for also sharing your personal, you know, stories and relationships and marriages.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, lots to talk about and unpack still, and would be lovely to have some of you for dinner.